If your elevator cable snaps, you have exactly 4 seconds before the emergency brakes decide if you live or die. Most passengers ignore the groaning metal shafts, but inside the industry, we know that box is a controlled free fall waiting for a malfunction. It is a skyscraper's nervous system, and on April 29th, 2026, the heartbeat of the city stopped. We at KONE fundamentally shattered our own safety protocols to see if the machine could survive. Change the landscape of urban infrastructure. We announced our acquisition of our German rival, TK Elevator, in a deal valued at 29.4 billion euros. This is not just a merger of two companies, it is a tectonic shift in how we interact with the cities we live in. You might look at the numbers and see a massive industrial play, a power move to dominate the market share against rivals like Otis or Schindler. But the reality is far more subtle and much more important. I want to show you exactly why this deal matters, how we plan to integrate two massive corporate cultures, and why the future of urban mobility is going to look completely different than the past. So sit back and let's look at the machinery behind the headlines. The first thing to understand is the concept of service as a moat. When you sell an elevator, you are selling a piece of hardware that lasts for decades. But the real value isn't in the initial sale. It is in the maintenance, the modernization, and the digital integration that keeps those systems running safely every single day. For the combined group, service and modernization account for 65% of our total revenue. Think about that for a second. While new construction projects can be highly cyclical, especially with the recent slowdown in Chinese real estate, maintenance is consistent. It is a recurring high margin income stream that acts as a fortress against market volatility. When we acquired TK Elevator, we weren't just buying hardware. We were buying a massive existing footprint of tens of thousands of buildings across North America and Europe that require our constant expert attention. This is a fundamental change in our business model. We are moving away from being a pure manufacturer and toward being a service oriented digital infrastructure company. Now, here is where it gets interesting. You might wonder why a Finnish company would go through the extreme complexity of absorbing a massive German engineering giant. It is about the smart city architecture. In our view, the elevator is the ultimate platform for the Internet of Things. Imagine a building that knows you are approaching the lobby before you even reach the glass doors. It anticipates your commute. It pre-allocates an elevator car based on your typical floor, communicates with a security system to verify your identity, and adjusts the lighting and climate control of your office space the moment you arrive. That is what we call our IoT hub strategy. By integrating KONE's proprietary people flow technology with TK Elevator's existing infrastructure, we create a unified digital ecosystem. We aren't just moving bodies. We are managing the flow of human life through vertical spaces. It's a vision of urban efficiency that simply wasn't possible at this scale before this merger. If you are finding this perspective helpful, hit subscribe. I drop insights on the logistics and economics of our changing world every week, and sticking around helps me continue this kind of analysis. Now let's talk about the obstacles, because a merger of this size doesn't come without a serious gauntlet of challenges. A few years ago, KONE actually tried to acquire the elevator division of ThyssenKrupp, which later became TK Elevator. That attempt failed. The regulatory landscape was too aggressive, and the demands from the seller were simply impossible to navigate at the time. But we spent the last decade obsessed with this vision. We watched Advent International and Cinven acquire the business for 17.2 billion euros in 2020, and we tracked their progress as they streamlined the operation. We learned from the history of that carve out. We observed how to separate a legacy industrial unit from a parent conglomerate and turn it into a high performance entity. This isn't just about buying a competitor. It is about timing, preparation, and having the strategic maturity to execute when the opportunity finally opens. But make no mistake, the regulators are watching. Rivals like Schindler are already making noise, preparing to challenge the deal before the European Commission. We have to prove that this merger benefits the customer, that it increases energy efficiency, and that it doesn't stifle the competitive landscape. That is a multi-year effort that requires total transparency and surgical operational precision. All right, remember how I said the best part was coming? This is the one I have been saving for you. It's the sustainability angle. You often hear about green building initiatives that focus on solar panels or better insulation. But the most impactful carbon reduction strategy for existing cities is actually the modernization of vertical transport. Think about the millions of elevators globally that were installed 30 or 40 years ago. They're energy hogs. Their motors are inefficient, their logic controllers are obsolete, and they lack the predictive power to manage energy usage based on real-time building occupancy. By merging our portfolios, we are positioning ourselves to lead a massive global retrofitting project. We are talking about swapping out legacy hardware with KONE's carbon neutral, high efficiency systems on a scale that actually moves the needle on global energy consumption. This is the heart of our 2025 to 2030 RISE strategy. We are not just building machines, we are lowering the carbon footprint of the entire urban environment. That is a mission that goes far beyond the quarterly earnings report. It is a commitment to the infrastructure that will define the next century. Once you see the elevator as a tool for decarbonization rather than just a motor on a cable, you can't unsee it. It changes the entire narrative of why this merger is a necessity, not just an ambition. Managing the cultural clash between a Finnish firm and a German legacy company is a monumental task. We are merging two distinct industrial philosophies, thousands of complex labor contracts, and completely different approaches to R&D. This is where most mergers fail. They look perfect on a spreadsheet, but they fall apart in the messy reality of daily operations. We are bringing together over 100,000 employees. That is an army of engineers, technicians, and digital architects. If we don't handle the integration with respect for their distinct legacies, we lose the very talent that makes these companies leaders in their field. But we are looking at this through the lens of long term value creation. We aren't here to strip out costs for a quick profit. We are here to build a singular unified platform that makes the modern city possible. It is a responsibility that we take seriously, and it is what drives our executive team every single day. So there you have it. Three real ways this deal reshapes the industry: the pivot to service based recurring revenue, the integration of smart city technology, and the massive scale of our sustainability retrofitting mission. This is the largest private equity related takeover in recent European history, and for good reason. It is a high stakes bet on the future of how we live and work in the modern urban centers of the world. I hope this gave you a deeper look behind the curtain of a major industrial deal. If you got value from this, please share it with someone who enjoys industrial strategy or urban development. Subscribe so you don't miss the next analysis, and check out my previous video on the economics of modular construction if you want to understand how we are changing the physical fabric of our cities even further. I'll see you in the next one.